on notice over its response to anti-government protests. Iran's supreme leader blaming President Trump for the unrest and says the government won't back down, setting the stage for a violent crackdown. We go now to Stephanie Bennett in London with more on this. Hi, Stephanie.
Molly, as we approach nearly 2 weeks of deadly protests, we're also hearing that hospitals across Iran are now becoming overwhelmed with the amount of injured people. Now, despite a complete communications blackout, pictures continue to emerge showing buildings and vehicles on fire as protests expand those anti-government demonstrations, gaining momentum not seen in years. Human rights groups say dozens have been killed and thousands of others arrested. Iran's attorney general warned today that anyone taking part will be considered an enemy of God and could face the death penalty. On X, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio offered support for the protesters, writing, quote, "The United States supports the brave people of Iran." Of course, over the summer, President Donald Trump struck Iran's nuclear sites during Operation Midnight Hammer. Yesterday, he had this warning.
I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts.
Iran's supreme leader offered a stern message and has accused protesters of acting on behalf of President Trump.
The Islamic Republic was established with the blood of several 100,000 honorable people, and it will not back down in the face of those who engage in destruction, nor will it tolerate mercenaries serving foreign powers.
Now, back here in Europe, the leaders of France, Germany, and the UK released a joint statement saying, in part, quote, they are deeply concerned about reports of violence by Iranian security forces and strongly condemn the killing of protesters. And also, Molly, we're keeping a close eye on some protests happening here in London outside of the Iranian embassy as well. As the Metropolitan Police, they said on X that they're sending officers out there as well. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie, covering a lot of ground on that for us. As protesters try to topple the regime, could we see the U.S. intervene? We bring in now Hudson Institute senior fellow Rebecca Heinrichs. Thank you for bringing us your expertise on this Saturday morning. I want to start with what was touched on in the report about the hospitals being overwhelmed. So people are not just being killed. It's to the degree that the hospitals are having challenges. You have a nuclear program that's been decimated, war losses, economic challenges. It seems like the regime is in a particularly weak position right now. But what are the potential actions that President Trump, that the U.S. may make in Iran? Your thoughts?
Well, Molly, that's exactly right about the situation. So the Iran regime is in an incredibly weak position for several reasons. One, because of American-led economic sanctions, and then the Europeans joined the United States in those sanctions. And then the Israelis, of course, significantly degraded the Iranian military, and then the United States came alongside and then degraded the illicit nuclear program. The combination of those things, of course, has demonstrated that the Iran regime is so much weaker than how they've been projecting to the Iranian people, saying, look, the Iranian regime has told the people, the reason that you are so deprived economically is because we're using all of these investments to protect you from the Israelis and from the Americans. Of course, they say, we don't believe you anymore. You're weak and they're strong and they're pro-American. The Iranian people are pro-American. And so I think President Trump is very serious in his continued threats, essentially, to say if there are crackdowns on the people, the Iran regime is already weak. The United States will back the Iranian people to finally topple the regime. Very credible threats on the heels, Molly, of the United States' successful operation to arrest Maduro in Venezuela.
Yeah, I don't know how close we are to going back to the 1970s, to real freedom in Iran for the people there on the ground. But there's at least one exiled leader that would like to go there and bring this country into modern day. The exiled Saudi prince is asking the president to intervene. Take a listen. Oh, sorry. This is a quote. It says, if you have proven, and I know you are a man of peace and a man of your word, please be prepared to intervene to help the people of Iran. But I guess specifically, what is it that the U.S. could specifically do? And would they be interested in putting in one specific leader or another, or somehow allowing the Iranians to come to that organically?
So I think the immediate question is going to be, what is actually going to be different about these protests that enable the Iranian people to overthrow the regime? So the United States can certainly put our finger on the scale as President Trump, and then today Secretary Rubio has thrown his support behind the Iranian people as well. What can we do? I think we can continue to make sure that there's internet access for the people, the protesters, and we can do that through Starlink, because there is an internet blackout on the part of the Iran regime so that the people cannot communicate. So we can provide that, and the United States can continue to encourage the Iranian people. And then also, Molly, this is really important, all of the armed security inside the regime has to turn on the regime. You need, and we've gotten some clues that's beginning to happen. Some IRG soldiers are not showing up to work. The Iranian regime is trying to import other people from Iraq to sort of crack down on the Iranian people. The more we have, and we can encourage the Iranian people who are armed to side with the civilians against the regime, is going to empower the Iranian people to take back their own government. As for a replacement regime, that's going to be really difficult. Obviously, you have the descendants of the Shah who want to take over. The question is, are they going to be able to maintain control? Because civil war and chaos is always the worst of the possible scenarios.
Yeah, it is bloody and it is very hard right there, but there is hope. Rebecca, thank you very, very much. We appreciate it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.